Hello and welcome to Nestle Between Chapters. I'm Akshita,
And I'm Aishwarya.
and today we are here to discuss our top 5 reads of 2025. So, these are the books that stayed with us long after we turned the last page. These are the books we discussed in depth. We could not stop recommending these books enough. We have one book in common, and that also happens to be our number one read of 2025. So, yeah, without any further ado, let's get started. So,
Okay.
for this video, we're gonna alternate. We're gonna start with our number three, the book that's number three on our list, and then work up to number one. So, Aishwarya, what's third on your list?
Firstly, really excited for this video and also very excited about the fact that we have the same book as our number one. But for my number three, I have gone with The Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden, who's a Dutch author, and I believe it's their debut novel. So that's what I've gone for my number three in on the list. So to just like give a little bit of the background about the book, it's set in Netherlands in the years following the Second World War, and it's a time when the country technically is moving on, but the sort of emotional consequences of the war are very much unresolved. So, at the center of the novel, we meet Isabel, who lives alone in this large house that once belonged to her family, and quite quickly you learn that she treats this house as both a refuge as well as this sort of like inheritance, something that she really unquestionably believes that she owns. So Louis, also the brother, one day introduces the person that he's seeing, Ava, who enters their life, and suddenly Ava's sort of like sense of control, you see it sort of begins to kind of fracture. So the book moves on, and then their relationship is quite tensed, it's very charged and like quite complicated in many senses, which is emotionally, physically, and you later learn like quite sexually as well. And then as the novel progresses, it becomes clear that the house itself is tied to a lot of histories of displacement, loss, and like around the war. So yeah, I would say I would obviously classify this book in a very literary historic fiction genre, but it's also I would say it's also a psychological sort of a novel. It's very surprising, and I have to say it's quite sensual at many moments in the book. What really stayed with me in this book is how the novel really handles this sort of like silence, this gap, these conversations, this sort of tension. So, this sort of emotional weight is something that isn't in what's said, but the kind of routine, how Isabel's constantly focused on her gesture, on cleaning all the sort of like kitchen uh, yeah, kitchen things, and about also how a lot of things are left like unresolved. And I would obviously have to like say that the author's writing is so commendable. It's really incredibly patient, and it really doesn't rush towards any sort of clarity. And I think by the end, the idea of safekeep becomes deeply ironic. And I think you're left reading the book like feeling quite unsettled, but I also think that's the sort of intention of the book. So yeah, a big long description, but that was definitely one of my top threes for
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, I happened to read this book as well, and I think I recommended this book to you, and I'm
Yeah,
so glad
exactly. You
you
bought it for
enjoyed it.
me during the
Yeah,
summer. So.
so glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. I mean, I read it last summer, and I thought it was a great summer read. So if you're looking for a beach read, I think would you say this would make for a perfect beach read? Because it's so tightly composed, and it's got those twists, and it has a lot of summer in it. So
Mhm.
I think it would
Yeah, I
make for
think it would make for like a really good beach read as well. It would make for a good like sort of vacation read because I mentioned there's also this sort of tension that takes takes its own time to kind of unfold at the book. So
I thoroughly enjoyed this book as well. I'm so glad that made it to your top three.
yeah. And what would you say is sort of your third book?
Yes. Top three on my list is Maurice and Maralyn by Sophie Elmhirst. So this book released as Marriage at Sea in the US. I got the UK edition of it, and I think it released in the UK in 2024 and then in the US in 2025. So this is a biography about the couple, Maurice and Maralyn. They are not your typical, couple that just wants to settle down and have kids and, just be happy in your suburban life. They're quite adventurous. They one day decide to go on this adventure from England to New Zealand in their yacht. So this is a sailing adventure they want to embark on, and they build their own yacht. This is this 30-foot long yacht that they build, and they name it Maralyn. And they start their journey. I think this takes place in 1973, if I'm not wrong. And they set their course from the Atlantic, passing through the Panama Canal, and then sailing across Pacific Ocean. Both Maurice and Maralyn share these responsibilities on the yacht, things that you do while you're sailing, and everything's going really smoothly until one unfortunate day their yacht gets struck by a whale, and they grab everything they can in that last minute and get onto their life raft, which is also attached to a dinghy. So this is a story about those 118 days that they are just adrift in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's almost about 4 months that they're trying to sail, and they're trying to get spotted by some ship or like anyone, but if you think about it, the Pacific Ocean is so massive, and being stuck in between that is just unimaginable. And so this is a story about resilience. It's a story about what keeps hope going in the direst of situations. So, for example, Maurice almost gives up once his yacht sinks. But Maralyn is the one who, is hopeful for the both of them. She's the one that says, you know what, we're meant to survive this. If we survived this long, we are meant to survive. That's why we are just stranded. So she keeps the hope for both of them. She establishes a routine on their little life raft, and the story is just remarkable. And there are videos of this couple. Of course, it was a huge news, and there are interviews of them after they got rescued, and it's quite amazing to see those pictures of them, how famished they were at the end of it all. But yeah, it's an incredible story, and I highly, highly recommend this book to you all.
Yeah, that sounds really inspiring. It sounds like a real challenge. Just the situation that they're faced with sounds really incredibly challenging, and I think it's a very obvious thing that anyone reading it would try and place themselves in the situation. And I guess it's a really good testament to what would you do, and would I survive this, or it's yeah, I guess it's almost makes you look within.
Yeah, it's a true story, so please pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm definitely very intrigued to read it, and yeah.
Yes, I would highly recommend it. So, are we moving on to number two on your list?
Yeah, let's move on to number two. I actually do have also my copy. It's Shy Creatures by Clare Chambers. And this is actually this is the first book by Clare Chambers that I picked up and I read last year. And I read it during summer, like during one of my summer vacations. And the book is set in 1964, which is it's based on a true story. And the author, Clare Chambers, has taken this story that did really happen. So, set in 1964 in Croydon in the UK, it follows Helen, who is an art therapist and is working in a psychiatric hospital. So she is also having an affair with a married doctor who's called Jill. He's a very charismatic person, and there's many moments when she's obviously like in love with him. There's a lot to like learn from him. He's very confident, and he's just this like really cool character in the book. The story is actually about this man called William Tapping, who this story is actually based on. So, in the book, when Helen is introduced to William Tapping, who we find out is a mute 37-year-old person living in isolation, living with his aunts, and clearly has had no contact with the rest of the world for decades. So, the way that they encounter William is through a phone call from the neighbor to say that there is some sort of disturbance that they hear in this house. And quite quickly, when Helen arrives on the scene, she is immediately intrigued because William also happens to have these really amazing sketches, really amazing artwork that he's into, and has been like drawing these amazing sketches that she then gets really curious. And also she's very determined to then find out William's story because, as I mentioned, he has clearly been isolated from the world for quite a long time. So she is very determined to help him, and he gets admitted in the hospital. So the rest of the story basically deals with what really happened with William. Like, why was he ever in the state in the first place? Why is he mute? Why was he living with his aunts? Why has he had no contact with the rest of the world for over 10 years or more? And the way that William's story is told is from the present moving through the past, like trying to uncover his story, which is what makes you really hooked to the book. And there are many themes that this book is dealing with. Like I said, with Helen, her stories about women around, the 60s and having this sort of pressure from their parents to be married. But, she's very determined about her career and is also very aware of her complicated relationships. But I think it's more like ethically complicated because of William's story, who is quite on the margin. It's really gripping, it's really moving. And I think I have to say, the way that Clare Chambers has, written the story is so beautiful. Her writing is extremely captivating. It's very accessible. I would definitely say that it's quite a slow read. Like at least in the first few pages, it feels like it's a really slow read. You don't really know when you get to this sort of mysterious part. But I think if anyone that is in a mood to sort of appreciate slow reading and also get yourself indulged in this sort of really amazing writing and story, I would definitely recommend Shy Creatures by Clare Chambers.
Wow, that's wonderful. That I'm intrigued. I mean, I've heard of the book Shy Creatures, but I never really looked a lot into it. But coming from you, I'm pretty sure it's going to be amazing. So I love the idea of slow reading as well. So that's something I think I'm going to pick up very soon. All
And how
right.
about you?
Yeah, so number two on my list is this Mammoth,
Amazing.
The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai. I don't think I would be able to sum this book up because there is so much in it. So I think if I have to say, essentially, this is an epic about love, loss, loneliness, and a lot of family drama. And yeah, ultimately, what this book is about is this question of what it means to belong. And it is set across so many different cities: New York, Vermont, Goa, Delhi,
Wow.
Allahabad, Mexico. So we're traveling a lot in this book. But yeah, this is a diaspora story. So it touches upon immigration. So immigrating as a student from India to the United States. And, while you're studying, you're also discovering so many things about yourself. And you are in a very different country, so where you do not know anybody, and you miss home, you miss your family, and there is this sense of loneliness. So essentially, one of our characters, Sonia, goes through that. And then when her family members back home get to know about it, they try to meddle, like typical. You tell your family, oh, something's wrong, and they try to help you in all in any way they can. So her grandparents sort of find out that one of their neighbors and very good friends grandson is also in the US. So they try to arrange a match for Sonia and Sunny. And yeah, it's essentially the story about the two of them, how they cross paths, how their initial meeting is not very great. There's so much to unpack in this book. It's more than just Sonia and Sunny as well, if I may say. I think it touches upon the story of a lot of their family members as well. The characters are quite amazing, and you learn about each of the characters in depth, and they're very well written, and they're very different from each other. Yeah, I really enjoyed it as someone living in the US who's immigrated from India. I thought this was an incredible read. I enjoyed it so much. It is 650 pages long, but it is so well written that you'll just keep turning the pages. And yeah, if you're someone like me, Indian diaspora, then I think you'll definitely enjoy this book. And this was also shortlisted for Booker 2025, and it was, I think, a lot of people loved this book, and they were hoping that this would be picked as a winner. But yeah, this definitely is a favorite.
I don't think I have ever read any of Kiran Desai's work, but like you said, I have been seeing it around since the release, and it was quite highly anticipated. And also, I think it's already really impressive that it was even nominated, it like shortlisted. And yeah, it's a shame that
For the
it
second
didn't.
time, like she
Yeah,
already won a Booker for her book, The Inheritance of Loss, several years ago, and then she comes up with this book almost 10 years later, where she's just disappeared for 10 years. Nobody knows if she's gonna write another book, or and then she comes back with this epic, and it's already nominated for
wow.
the Booker. And I had the opportunity of meeting her at
Oh,
the Jaipur Literature Festival that took place in Seattle. And yeah, it was so wonderful. I got to congratulate her. And I
that's
also got my
wonderful.
hands on this book a few days before its release, actually. So that was special. And this copy is signed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
wonderful.
it's extra special, I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah, so that's about Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. Highly recommend it.
Definitely read it this year. I think yeah, it's definitely like long due. I'm really intrigued and curious to include Kiran Desai's work in my list of books. And yeah,
Yes, yes. So moving on to our number one
number
book of
one.
the year.
Yay. Me too.
Ta-da.
Definitely.
I think
Yeah.
this is a number one on a lot of lists. Whoever's read this book, I guess, has absolutely adored it, loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I
I
couldn't
love that they have
imagine.
two different covers too.
Yeah, yeah. I got this one.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love the red hardbound.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's so wonderful.
Yeah. Apart from the lovely cover, I think the story is so incredible. Mother Mary Comes to Me by Arundhati Roy is a autobiography. It's a story about her mother, Mary Roy. and it's a story of living with I think, a difficult parent who is also a hero of sorts in public life, because Mary Roy is an incredible woman who's done so much for the children in Kerala by setting up a school, as well as she's also fought the inheritance laws for the Syrian Christian community of women who are like not allowed to inherit or equally inherit property from their father. So she fought those laws against her own brother.
And
And
mom.
yeah, so she's done all these incredible things, but she's also somewhat of a terror at home.
I would definitely say that she's quite a big personality, and she is aware of that. Her kids, Arundhati Roy and the brother, are both very aware of this fact. She has these big moods. She is very aware of, herself. She's aware of her power. So I think the way that I would describe her is, yeah, this big personality who can
Yeah,
be at
it's so hard
times
to
scary.
find the right words to describe her, because she's both black and white in some sense, you know. She's also, been quite hard on both Arundhati and her brother LKC, and so this she describes her life as a child living with her mother, who's so adored by everyone outside, but she's also so fearful of her own mom. And both Arundhati and her brother are sort of misfits in that small village where they say, "Oh, you guys, you don't have a father, it's not normal." And they're almost like an outcast. And all of that frustration, she's taking it out on her children, which is not a great thing. But yeah, and yeah, it's essentially the story of her mother, and also a story about her life, and her how she made a life out of all these difficult situations, her move to Delhi, and then her career in architecture, her career as an author, as a filmmaker, and then also now an activist. So there's so much to unpack in Mother Mary Comes to Me. Yeah, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a very extraordinary book. Arundhati Roy, as a writer, has such a command over language, and she's someone that I absolutely am in love with and have been. She is just this incredibly powerful woman, and through this book you very much realize, I'm sure a lot of people know of Arundhati Roy for many many years now, and it's only through this book that you realize that her mother, who's also the strong woman, who's feminist, who is all these really incredible powerful things, and then I think you quickly realize that that's sort of where maybe she gets it from. And just to read about the things that she's been through felt like such a good, it felt so personal, and it felt really amazing. It was this amazing insight into her life and her background and her upbringing. And what I really also loved is that the book is definitely more than just a memoir, because of the kind of topics that it deals with. It deals with so many different themes. It deals with longing, forgiveness, religion, gender, equality, injustice. And yeah, so you're taken through this whole sort of timeline, also of the events that happened in India through her lens. What I also really loved is how the writing is never, it never feels very self-indulgent or performative, as you might find with some memoirs, but definitely not this one. Yeah, I think it is an incredibly powerful book, and anyone that loves Arundhati Roy or has any questions about her should definitely read this book. And yeah, I just cannot recommend it enough. So
She's written this is just incredible. She calls her mom gangster. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think when you read the book, you will know why she's a gangster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible. You kind of like relive, or live more so for her, relive, but live this
Yes.
experience through her relationship, her sort of memory and emotions while she's talking about her mother. I only have great things to say about the book.
Yes,
So
I highly, highly recommend it. Yeah, there's also this, she takes a dig at this comment that was made to her, and she uses it throughout the book. There is this term that's used on her when she's filling a form, and she's almost, I think, discriminated for something, and then the guy says, "You can't do so and so because this is India, my dear."
oh my
And
God,
I
yeah.
thought that was such a
I
beautiful,
think
and
the first
she
time I
uses
read
that
that sentence, that phrase in the
throughout
book,
the
it
book.
really
Yeah.
cracked me up. And like she is such a clever writer, and she so clearly inserts that one phrase in so many things that really infuriate you, that boil your blood, but she almost balances it out herself by saying, "This is India, my dear," which I think is
Yeah.
also a sort of like, that that she's been reminding herself all throughout her life this phrase, while it's really infuriating, you kind of
Yes. I want to read
see the
that
humor.
line out actually, so I have it
Mhm.
highlighted here. On one occasion, when I was asked to put my father's name down in some government form, I put my mother's name down instead. The man at the counter said that was not acceptable because this is India, my dear. I told him I was a bastard and didn't know who my father was. Finally, in exasperation, he filled it in himself. He wrote, Shri Mary Roy, Mr. Mary Roy. I accepted that compromise because this was India, my dear. I just love her writing, and she just takes a dig at people in a very clever way. And yeah, I think that's just a tiny glimpse of what's in this amazing book.
Definitely.
So that was our top five of 2025. These books have had a great impact on us, and I think I'm going to pick up Shy Creatures, and I can't wait to read that this year. And which of the books that I talked about are you going to pick up?
I definitely will undoubtedly pick up Sonia and Sunny.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, Kiran Desai is someone I absolutely feel the urge to read. And after you've just described what the book is about, I think it sounds very relatable. It sounds really incredible. It sounds quite powerful and moving. And I'm also so curious to experience what Kiran Desai's writing is all about. So that's definitely a book that I will be picking up.
Amazing. And do let us know what books you are excited to read. And if you have any favorites from 2025 that you think we will love or we should definitely read, do let us know in the comments. So until next time, it's bye from me.
Bye for me too.